Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're cracking open the vault on a seriously fascinating slice of history. We're diving right into the birth of modern organized chess, and more specifically, we're looking at the incredibly complex, brilliant, and, let's be honest, pretty controversial figures standing right at the center of it all. It's a wild story, really. We've got rags to riches, fierce rivalries, and a legacy that literally reshaped a game played by millions.
So, let me ask you this. Have you ever played with the standard Staunton chess set? Chances are, every single time you've sat down at a board, whether that's for a tense tournament, at a local club, or just kicking back in your living room, you've actually held a piece of this man's legacy right in your own hands. You definitely know his name, even if you never realized it belonged to a real, breathing person.
Okay, let's dive into this. The design you're picturing right now, that's the famous Staunton pattern. Now, here's a super interesting little detail. Staunton didn't actually invent the physical design himself. No, it was patented by a guy named Nathaniel Cook. But see, for literally centuries, chess suffered from a massive game-breaking visual problem. Players were using these wildly confusing, totally inconsistent sets that changed from town to town. Staunton saw Cook's brilliant, elegant design, endorsed it, and then used his massive platform to push it into the mainstream. By slapping his name on the box, he basically brought visual order to a chaotic 1,500-year-old game.
Section 1. The man behind the pieces. So, who was he? Well, Howard Staunton was way more than just a brand name on a box. He was a true Victorian-era powerhouse. Born in 1810, his early life is actually totally shrouded in mystery. Amazingly enough, he received very little formal education, and there were all these rumors swirling around that he was possibly the illegitimate son of an earl. But from those enigmatic rags-to-riches beginnings, he forged himself into a towering, multifaceted intellectual. I mean, he wasn't just a chess pioneer. The guy was an actor, a deeply serious Shakespearean scholar, and a man whose fiercely opinionated personality really let him conquer the intellectual circles of his day. Section 2. Rise of a Master. Let's move to the timeline and see how all this builds, because Staunton's trajectory in chess was actually highly unusual. You know how most masters learn the game as little kids? Well, Staunton came to chess relatively late. He didn't take it up seriously until he was about 26 years old. Yet, his rise was just meteoric. He honed his craft in the really tough, gritty, competitive environment of London, and by 1843, he found himself sitting across the board from the incredibly formidable French master Pierre Charles Fournier de Saint-Amant. Staunton beat him, and that victory, it sent absolute shockwaves through the entire chess-playing world. That 1843 victory in London was the ultimate turning point. By crushing the French master, Staunton didn't just win a match, he firmly established himself as the unofficial world champion. Keep in mind, the official title didn't even exist yet. But make absolutely no mistake, throughout the 1840s, Howard Staunton was universally recognized as the greatest, strongest player of his era. And what's really brilliant is how his dominance came down to this stark contrast in playing styles. Back in Staunton's day, chess was a game of wild, romantic, and, let's face it, often totally reckless tactical gambles. Players were sacrificing pieces left and right just hoping for a quick knockout. But Staunton, he was different. His understanding of structured positional play was literally decades ahead of its time. While his contemporaries were swinging for the fences with chaotic tactics, Staunton was just patiently building solid positions, slowly outmaneuvering and suffocating his opponents with a deeply logical approach to the board. Section 3. Organizing the modern game. Now, the year 1851 is arguably one of the most important dates in the entire history of competitive gaming, because 1851 was the year Staunton took it upon himself to organize the first ever international chess tournament right there in London. Before Staunton came along, chess was largely played in the shadows. It was a game of smoky coffee houses and informal wagers. But Staunton's 1851 tournament completely dragged the game out of those dimly lit rooms and threw it directly into the international spotlight. By aligning the tournament with the Great Exhibition in London, he transformed chess overnight into a serious, prestigious, professional competition on a global stage. And to really grasp just how tightly he gripped the chess world, you have to look at this number, 1,400. That is the staggering, almost unbelievable number of weekly articles he wrote during his career. Staunton was basically a media giant way before the term even existed. He penned massively popular columns in the Illustrated London News, and he even founded his own dedicated magazine, the Chess Player's Chronicle. Through those platforms, he became the absolute, unquestioned authority on the game. But he wasn't exactly a gentle teacher. He ruled the chess world with a fiercely competitive, harsh, and heavily opinionated tone. Honestly, it makes him this completely fascinating anti-hero who absolutely was not afraid to use his pen to tear down his rivals and assert total dominance over the game's culture.
Section 4. Shakespeare and the Rivalry.
Now here's where the tension really builds. In 1847, while he was still at the absolute height of his chess powers, Staunton kicked off a parallel career. He dove headfirst into serious research and publishing as a Shakespearean scholar. He eventually published these highly respected editions of Shakespeare's plays, effectively splitting his formidable intellect right down the middle between two completely different, demanding worlds. And this dual life, well, it perfectly set the stage for a massive historical collision. Fast forward to 1858. A young, brilliant American prodigy named Paul Morphy traveled all the way across the Atlantic to Europe with one single goal: to challenge Howard Staunton. It was literally the ultimate setup. You've got the aging Victorian scholar and established king of the chess world going up against this razor-sharp, dynamic newcomer. It is widely considered the greatest what-if saga in sports history. And why is that? Because the match never actually happened.
So, what does this all mean? Was he really too busy with Shakespeare or just terrified of Morphy? This mismatch still sparks intense debate today. Staunton officially claimed that he simply couldn't play. He cited his heavy, inescapable commitments to his Shakespearean research and looming literary deadlines. But critics, both back then and today, have suggested a very different motive. They argue that Staunton saw the writing on the wall. He knew Morphy was younger, sharper, and most likely unbeatable. They claim Staunton's literary workload was just a super convenient, face-saving dodge to avoid a highly public, crushing defeat. We'll probably never know for sure, but the ghost of that missed match haunts chess history to this day.
Section 5. A Standardized Legacy.
Staunton's end was just as dramatic and intensely focused as his life. In 1874, he died very suddenly of heart disease. And where was he? Sitting right there at his desk, pen in hand, still intensely working on his final book, Chess, Theory and Practice. It's an image that just perfectly encapsulates his lifelong, unwavering dedication to the intellectual pursuit of the game.
So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this: Howard Staunton's legacy is so much larger than just a list of match wins or lost rivalries. He gave us total standardization. Because of him, we have the universally accepted Staunton pattern pieces. Because of him, we have foundational modern openings that players still study today, like the English opening and, of course, the Staunton Gambit. And most importantly, he built the professional framework for international tournaments that completely modernized the sport. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. When you look at the incredibly polished, global, and standardized game of chess played today, you really have to ask yourself, would modern chess even exist without Howard Staunton's heavy, opinionated, and brilliant hand? His methods might have been highly controversial, but his impact, absolutely undeniable. Thank you for joining me on this explainer, and hey, the next time you move a chess piece, just remember the Victorian powerhouse who put it there.